Hi guys, this is George back here with another video, and welcome to another sort of countdown video where today we're going to look at 10 of some of the weirdest roller coasters worldwide. So sometimes you don't always have to have a tall, a fast, loads of inversions or a long coaster to have something weird and interesting. I absolutely love it when coasters do something a little bit different, when parks decide, you know what, we're not going to go with the norm, we're going to do something completely different, completely unique, completely weird, and we're going to make this a big standout ride because of how unique it is. So today, let's talk about some of these rides. Some of these I've been on, some of these I haven't been on, and I'd love to go and experience. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree that these are some weird coasters? Can you think of any other weird coasters? Maybe if this video goes down well, then maybe I'll do another one, because there are so many weird roller coasters out there that I'd love to talk about. I've limited it to 10 for this video, but if you guys like it, then maybe I'll do another one. So here we go, let's go and get things started. So let's start off here in the UK with Mandrill Mayhem at Chessington World of Adventures. And this roller coaster opened in 2023. It's a B&M wing coaster. However, this is very different to any other wing coaster out there. So basically, this roller coaster, it has launches. Now, of course, there are a few B&Ms that have launches, not very many. However, there are a couple more have opened since this coaster. However, this was one of a few B&M roller coasters with a launch when this opened. It was also the first B&M to feature multiple launches. It was also B&M's first shuttle roller coaster as well. So literally a B&M winged shuttle roller coaster. So of course you start off by launching backwards into a spike. You then launch forward again through an inversion, and then you spiral round into a spiral spike around the big Jaguar shrine, and then you roll back and do the entire course again backwards. 4 launches on here, and it really is a very weird ride, because when do you ever see not only kind of a B&M shuttle coaster, but it's a wing coaster, it's a winged shuttle coaster, like literally, and even if it was just a spike as well, it's not just a regular spike, you literally helix round, getting higher and higher, and then you just stall out and roll back down again. You're literally just stalling out as you're pretty much on your side, way away from the track, because of course you're on a wing outside of the seat, outside of the train, which is just a really unique sensation. You've got the backwards inversion on here as well. You don't see many backwards inversions out there. And the fact that it's just a really interesting ride. When this was first announced for Chessington, I was really excited for it, and it is a great fun ride. Sure, it can be a little bit rough sometimes, however, I do really enjoy it. So we'll stick with the UK now, but go further up north to Blackpool Pleasure Beach, where we're going to talk about Steeplechase. So this is a set of 3 racing coasters manufactured by Aerodynamics, and when you look at this ride, it doesn't look so weird when you first see the track. I mean, the track is a little bit different to how you'd expect for any other roller coaster, but you sit on horses with this ride. It's got a very different style seating to a lot of other roller coasters, whereas it's kind of like sitting on a carousel with your seatbelt on. However, you're pretty much just sitting on a horse. You're very free on there. There's no like over the shoulder restraint, no massive lap bar. You literally just feel like you are sat on the top of a horse, and then you go through this racing layout. It's not got the most exciting layout, however, it's not about that. It's about the racing element with this ride. So you've got the 3 coasters on there that all race with each other and interact. You go up a couple of different lift hills, interact with some of the other rides at Pleasure Beach. It's not the longest ride in the world, however, it is very different, and I can't think of any other roller coaster out there that's like Steeplechase. It's a good fun ride, a little bit rough, just like with Mandrill Mayhem, but it is an older ride, so that is to be expected. It is a fun ride to watch at Pleasure Beach as well, just watching all of the horses racing around and people on top of them. You can get some very competitive rides on there. I've had some very competitive rides on there over the years, which have been very amusing. So let's talk about a travelling roller coaster now that actually travels around a lot of Europe. It mainly stays in the Netherlands, however it does come here to London at Christmas for Hyde Park Winter Wonderland, and that is Eurocoaster, or when it comes over for Hyde Park Winter Wonderland, it used to get called the Christmas Coaster, but now they tend to still just call it Eurocoaster. This is a very odd roller coaster. It's manufactured by Revachon, and of course it's a travelling roller coaster, so it travels to loads of different places. It's a similar style to a Wild Mouse, with the fact that you've got those sharp turns that go around. It doesn't go too fast, but you go around those sharp turns. But this one's suspended, which is what makes it really unique. So you're going around on here with an over-the-shoulder restraint, which is not very comfortable, I might add. You're going around these sharp corners. You have got a bit of banking on here, but it kind of jolts you into it. You've then got a couple of different drops on here. It's a very kind of standard Wild Mouse layout. However, the fact you're suspended makes it really different. It looks very unique off-ride. It's very different to experience. It's not enjoyable to experience, in my opinion. However, it is still a unique ride, and I do enjoy watching it while I'm walking past it whenever I'm at Hyde Park Winter Wonderland, and it is certainly a very unique ride. No matter how good it is a unique ride. Here we go, so let's talk about a couple of different roller coaster models now. So let's start off by talking about the SBF Visa Big Air coasters, more commonly known as the hamster wheel coasters. You've probably seen one of these before. A lot of them have been built since they were first announced. And basically, with SBF Visa, they're typically known for making junior coasters, especially their junior spinning coasters. However, a few years ago, what they did was they added a hamster wheel seating effect on one of their spinning coasters, so you can actually ride this roller coaster in a hamster wheel, and at certain points throughout the layout it'll use another, like a third wheel, to spin it round. I actually went on one of these when I was in Abu Dhabi a few months ago. I got to experience one over there, and it was really interesting. You've got these big bulky restraints on there which are not very comfortable, but of course it starts off very tame where you just go around a couple of corners, but then suddenly you're just spinning round, and it's intense as well. It's not as if it's just a vertical loop where it's like you spin round. You can be spinning round like this. It goes quite fast, and then of course going around corners and going around all these airtime hills and stuff, it goes over these little dips and camel humps and corners. But then you're spinning round like a hamster wheel would be, with the hamster running in it, like it would be like that. So it's very unique. Loads of these have been built. There's loads of them around the world. They were only announced a few years ago, but they've been very popular, and you can see why, because they are crowd pleasers. As much as the one I rode in Abu Dhabi wasn't the most comfortable, it definitely looks the part off-ride, and they're a great fit for a small theme park that are looking for a thrill ride that isn't going to break the bank and that also isn't going to take up too much space. And the benefit of these coasters as well is you can have them as a thrill coaster and also a family coaster in one, because you can have the spinning version, which is like a family coaster, and then you have the hamster ball version, which turns it into a thrill coaster. So you've got the variety there with just one ride. Another interesting ride model from SBF Visa then is the Tower Coaster. This coaster is pretty well known. It's rare to find footage of it. I have struggled to find footage of it. I have got some, which I'll be showing in the video, and of course I'll credit that as well, because obviously it's not mine. I haven't ridden this, and I don't really want to experience it, to be honest, because it looks extremely uncomfortable. Yeah, footage is rare of it, so if you have got any footage of it, or seen any footage of it, or even maybe you've been on it, then let me know what it's like, because it certainly looks very uncomfortable. So you start off by going up a vertical lift hill, and you then go down a very steep drop, but it's actually, imagine one of those saxophone elements that you see on those SBF Scream and Squirrel models. It kind of does that, and then it tilts back into a vertical. You're going up vertically, and then it goes around and under like that, and then back down, and it's breaking you going around this. It kind of feels, I imagine it feels like a dive coaster, like just hanging over that drop, going back in, and then just hanging over this vertical drop. Eventually it drops you, it releases you, and you go into a very tight vertical loop, which looks to be an absolute neck breaker. And then you turn around, go through a couple of S-bends, and that's the ride. Very unique ride. I think only one of them has been built. I'm not 100% sure, but you can see why, to be honest, because they look absolutely terrible. So let's talk about a not so common ride model now, manufactured by a manufacturer called IE Park. You don't hear of them too often. They're not huge on the coaster scene. However, one of their coaster models is quite well known, not for the fact that there's a lot of them, however they are pretty well known, and that is the Drifter coaster. I have been on one of these. I went on the one in Abu Dhabi, which was an experience. I can't say I enjoyed it very much, but it is a very unique roller coaster. When you look at it off-ride, it's a very small roller coaster. Like literally, you see the one in the Yas Mall, and it's like, that is absolutely tiny. Not only that, you've got an over-the-shoulder restraint on this thing, which is the main reason why I didn't like it. It was so uncomfortable, so bulky and tight. It came down really tight, and it's not even like a big coaster. You probably don't even need, I don't imagine you'd actually even need it. But with this ride, you've got a tyre launch on here. So it starts off by launching you, and it launches like a multi-pass launch. So it's kind of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until it'll eventually make it over the layout. And then it just goes round a few times in its oval-shaped course. So it's not the most exciting layout. But what also makes this very unique is the fact it spins round as well. So you're doing this multi-pass launch while spinning. You're then going round this oval layout whilst spinning, which also makes it more uncomfortable. When you go through the corners of the track, you go through the bends in the track where you then get bashed up against the over-the-shoulder restraint. It's not a good ride, however, it is very unique. Only 2 of these have been built, the one in Abu Dhabi and there's also one in Russia as well. So yeah, there's not many places where you can find one of these, but they certainly are very unique rides. So then, let's talk about a roller coaster that hasn't actually built yet and is currently getting built over in Asia. This is manufactured by PAX, which is a manufacturer that you don't hear too much about. They're quite well known for their Wild Train models. They had one at Phantasiana in Austria, that closed last year. They've got one at Parc St Paul in France. They're relatively well known for that. However, what they aren't so known for is their Boomerang model. They've just sold their first one over to a park in Asia, and this is kind of like if you mix a B&M wing coaster with an Arrow 4D coaster, or even an S&S 4D free spin. It does look a little bit like their take on an S&S 4D free spin. This roller coaster looks a bit ridiculous. So you're going to start off with a multi-pass launch, going up into a spike. You're then going to launch forward again, up into an inversion, where you're then going to kind of curve round and then up on yourself like you would on a free spin, and then you're going to roll back and do it all again. Of course, the seats are going to be rotating while you do this as well. They're going to be flipping round, rotating while you're going through the layout. It's got multiple launches on here. It's a multi-pass launch coaster, and it certainly looks very unique, as you can see by the video here from the manufacturer. Of course, we don't know how this is going to run yet. It hasn't been built. It's currently under construction. So I'll be interested to hear what people think of this when it does open. But it is certainly a very unique ride. So then let's talk about another PAX roller coaster, and this one is also pretty well known. It's over in Switzerland at a park called Coneyland, and it's called Cobra. And what this roller coaster is really well known for is a particular element called the scorpion tail, where it takes you into a loop, standard. It then goes into what, it starts off as another loop, but then it stalls out when you're upside down, hangs you there for a bit, and it then rolls back and does the course again backwards. You can see by this video here, which again I will credit this on here. It's a very strange element. I imagine it's not particularly comfortable. You probably get quite a lot of hang time on it, but with the restraints I imagine it's not very comfortable. But it's certainly very unique. You don't see very many roller coasters with an element like this. That certainly does make it a very unique ride, and I know a lot of enthusiasts that do want to go to this park specifically to go and ride this ride because of how unique it is. So coming up next, we have a relatively new roller coaster, and that is Storm, the Dragon Legend at Tusenfryd in Norway. This is a Gerstlauer suspended multi-launch roller coaster. So the best way I feel like I can describe this is if you mix a Premier Skyrocket 2 with a standard like maybe Intamin multi-launch coaster, but also you're suspended under the track. So with this one, a suspended coaster manufactured by Gerstlauer, that's already pretty unique. You don't see Gerstlauer doing many suspended coasters. You also don't see very many suspended coasters that feature a launch. If you remember Volcano the Blast coaster at King's Dominion, that had a couple of launches and that was a suspended coaster. That had a lot of problems, and I really wanted to go and ride that ride. It was a big bucket list ride for me, but unfortunately I never got to do it. But this one certainly looks very unique. So you start off by launching forwards. It doesn't make it up to the top of the first element, so you roll backwards into a backwards launch, where it then takes you up another element, rolls back again, launches forwards again, and then it makes its way throughout the rest of the course. If you've seen a Premier Skyrocket 2, you'll understand this, with the fact that it has multiple different launches to get you right up to the top, and then it goes through the rest of its element. It's a full circuit roller coaster, however, of course, it has the multi-pass launch to take you through the layout. So with this, once you make it over the final launch, you go through a couple of inversions. There's an airtime hill on here. It's not a particularly long ride, however, what does make it a bit longer is the fact that you get 2 laps. So you complete the first lap, come into the station where it launches you straight back through the station, around the layout again, and then you come back round to the end of the ride. You go back through the station where the launch then acts as the braking system, which slows you down, and then it reverses you back slowly back into the station to end the ride. It certainly looks very unique. It's been a big bucket list ride ever since it's opened. I really want to go out to Norway and experience it. It looks like it would be a lot of fun. And finally, let's talk about Powder Keg at Silver Dollar City in the USA. This ride has had a very interesting history. So originally, it opened up as Buzzsaw Falls, as a Premier Rides water coaster. However, it had a lot of problems, so the park, after a few years of operation, the park contacted S&S to turn it into a full roller coaster. And what they did with this is they added one of their air launches onto the ride. So you start off by going up you go onto a piece of track where it it slides you across sideways onto the launch. You launch forwards into an airtime hill and some other elements. You then go up a lift hill. When this first opened, I believe this was the only roller coaster that had a launch and a lift hill. Of course, there's a few roller coasters that feature launches and lift hills now. Not so many. It's still a relatively new thing, however. It's something you don't see very often. But the interesting thing with this ride is they actually kept the lift hill and the drop of Buzzsaw Falls, and S&S worked around it to turn it into a new coaster as well. So they added their air launch, added more coaster track to it, made the ride a bit longer, but they kept the lift hill and the drop, so that's still there from the original water coaster. But then you got more coaster sections after that, and they added it on, kind of extended it, kept a little bit of what they had, but also turned it into something new as well, which is certainly very unique. The ride is very different. I'd love to go and experience it one day. Silver Dollar City looks like a beautiful theme park, so hopefully one day I will go and experience this ride. And there we go, that is now the end of this video here. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at George Kelly and follow me on Twitter at George Kelly. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe everyone, and I will see you all later. Bye!